Welcome to the MMA show. I'm very happy to have with me today Rob from McDojo Life. Hi, Rob.
Yo,
How are you?
wonderful man, living the dream.
Yes, I imagine so. Okay, this episode, let's face it, it's not exactly MMA, but whatever. It's still martial arts, so let's have some fun with this. I just had this weird idea, and I was like, you know what? It could be fun to talk about nunchucks. And I
Yeah,
don't know
man,
where
I'm
this
down.
came from, but what I noticed is I talked about it to you, and you were going to be busy for a while. And so we kind of planned to do it later. And what happened in the meantime, I swear, I started seeing on the internet stuff. I don't know if it's a thing in the collective mind of people, or I saw nunchucks, they start to pop up everywhere. And I'm like, is this a quarantine thing? Is it
Probably.
self defense,
Yeah.
um, okay, first of all, you are known as a nunchuck guy. And basically, like I think everyone, and if they don't, they can just look McDojo Life online if they don't know what you're about overall. But if we're to talk specifically about you and nunchucks, what would
Okay.
you, how can you describe your nunchuck journey to us?
Well, I started karate was my first martial art I ever did, and I started that when I was 12 years old. And my instructor, his name was Master Lee Barden. He actually not only taught karate, but there was another art that he was belted in, and it's a weapons art called Lissa Do. Now, Lissa are sound waves that basically, when you start putting sound waves up to the human body, your body makes the exact same patterns as sound waves do. As strange as that is, that's just the truth. It's just how our body is shaped. And you can see this in pictures like the Vitruvian Man, where you see the gentleman standing there, arms and legs spread out. And then if you look, like everything kind of makes these like circular motions. Like that's just how your body works. Like our arms, they kind of make these half circle motions or, either way. And so, um, basically the weapon system is basically understanding lanes of travel in which your body can project a weapon. And then nothing really changes from weapon to weapon but intent. So like what I mean by that is like let's say I have a pair of nunchucks, right? If I were to hit you with a stick, this is what it looks like. If I were to stab you with a knife, this is what it looks like. If I were to slash you with a knife, this is what it looks like. Or a chair or a beer bottle. It doesn't matter what's in your hand because the angles of attack will always be the same. The only difference will be the intent. So, like if I have a knife, it's to slash you or to stab you. If I have a stick, it's to bludgeon you. And so, the reason that the nunchuck is a predominant weapon in that particular weapon system is because it's very difficult to use, right? So, like, if I picked up a stick, I don't need a lot of learning curve for a stick. I pick it up, I use it, I learn basic angles of attack, and like arts like Eskrima, Kali, Arnis, a lot of Filipino martial arts. Yeah, there are a ton of drills and things that you do with sticks, right? Um, but when it comes to like learning a nunchuck, if you can use this weapon, you could pretty much use almost absolutely anything. So,
Okay, that's interesting. So just to kind of clarify, and maybe you can correct me if my understanding is wrong, because I heard about it before, and the first time I read it about that system, and it's the first time on like first I kind of thought this is the kind of thing that McDojo Life talks about because I was like sound waves and but then basically it's just a concept of it. It's not
yeah,
like
it's
well
just
the
the
actual sound
idea.
waves. So that's the
Yeah.
confusion when people
And
hear about it.
so, yeah, with the
Yeah,
words like Lissajo, like that actually comes from a French scientist, which is funny because you're French Canadian. So, like Jules Antoine Lissajo was a gentleman who actually created, was the gentleman who discovered that sound travels in waves,
yeah,
right? And so when he discovered that, um, they also down the road discovered that that's just how your body mechanics works. As strange as it is, as weird as it is, it actually kind of is. And so like when you deal with like Joe patterns and stuff like that, you're dealing with like 1-to-1 ratio, 1-to-2 ratio, 2 to 3s and things like that. Well, there's actually a machine like that actually calculates all that, and it's really famous machine that you'll see like on the Twilight Zone. Like, have you ever watched the Twilight Zone, right? And
I
these
have, but I don't know which one you're talking. After this video, I'm gonna go look at the intro, the
yeah, just
the
look at the
the
intro.
old one, or the one of the
The
remakes,
old
or
one. So if you look at the old one, you'll see like as he's describing doing his opening monologue,
yeah,
it's like you're looking at space and you're
yeah,
seeing things fly across the screen. And one
yeah.
of the things you'll see fly across the screen is like a Lissajo machine, which is something that's used in like medicine and stuff like that. So, but that's like not really the important part. That's kind of like the base idea and concept.
Yeah.
Like, and I will say this, like, it has nothing to do with what my concepts and versions of what a McDojo are at all.
No, no,
Like,
no.
yeah, but what I'll say is, like, just in case people do not know, I have 5 rules of what we call a McDojo here at McDojo Life. People who are pedophiles, people who
Yeah.
lie about their belt rank or fight record, people
Mhm.
who are financially ripping people off, people who think that they can do no-touch knockouts or run cult-like activity, or
Huh.
people who run unsafe training practices in which
See,
people will get hurt.
you see, with the sound thing, initially, the first time I read it, it's because of the sounds. I thought the idea was like, oh, we're attacking with the sound of the weapon.
No, fuck no.
No,
It's just
I
angles of
know better
attack,
now.
man.
Back
Yeah.
then, and that was,
Yeah.
and then I was like,
It's
that's
funny because
sort
they're
of
like universal. Like if you
like,
look like Kali Eskrima, like a lot of Filipino martial arts, they talk a lot about basic angles of attack. And a lot of weapons arts, they have 5 basic angles of attack, which is like 1, 2, straight across, and then straight in. And
mhm.
then in this particular art, we have 9. So we're talking about like angle 1, which is up and across, angle 2, up and across from the opposite shoulder. And then we work our way down. 3 is straight across, 4 is straight across, 5 is down to up, 6 is down to up from the opposite side, 7 is straight down, and then 8 is straight up, and 9 is straight in. So,
We might distract a little bit from the main subject, but now that we're talking about this, I'm kind of curious. I want your opinion on this. So basically, you've done very in the training. Is it just nunchucks, or you also practice knives and sticks and
no,
that?
it's a base like the whole thing, the whole basis behind that particular system, not like I've been in this shit for 23 years. So it's not the only thing I've done. It's not what I hang my hat on. I just happen to
Uh,
have a skill in that. But like, yeah, it's any weapon because it's not understanding the weapon itself. It's understanding the lanes of attack.
okay.
So like again, and nothing changes from weapon to weapon but intent. So if I pick up a bottle, it's going to be the same angle of attack as if I pick up a stick or if I pick up a knife or if I pick up a sword. It doesn't really matter. It's just what the intent is with that weapon.
Yeah. I want your opinion on this before we move into the main subject of nunchucks, just because now I'm talking to someone who knows about this, and I'm kind of curious because my current, I guess you could call it my background, is, right now I'm doing combat sambo mostly.
Okay.
When it comes to self-defense with knives, as you'd imagine, it's very grappling based. As in, I'm not gonna be doing a lot of like blocking movement with the arms. It's gonna like grab the weapon, go into grappling. It
Mm.
doesn't mean you're going on the floor necessarily, but it's very grappling based. The other guy is going down the floor for sure. So, and then you try to stay kind of like on your knees, or they don't necessarily go to the ground. There might be other people and such. Anyway, so I'm kind of curious. Like, to me, as soon as I tried a few tricks before where it's kind of like if the knife is coming this way, you block from this angle and such. And what I noticed was kind of like, okay, in the practice, we're doing that move. Cool, I'm ready for that move. But then as soon as, if just for fun, in between the practices, someone would kind of try to attack, I was like, which angle is it? Then in combat sambo, what I did like was, okay, I just need to grab that part, and then the grappling comes in. It's what I already know so far. So it's kind of like I can adapt because my grappling already adapts. And um, so regarding like all those block emotions, is it just a thing of kind of practice in the same way you learn eventually to be careful with a jab, a hook, an uppercut? Is it kind of the same where if you do it enough, you certain techniques are more like applying depending on the angle? Because to me, my initial reaction was, oh, I prefer to just grab and then do my thing.
Mm.
I don't know what you think. Again, we're kind of
Yeah.
diverging
Well, it's
from.
all good. It's all weapons-based training, so it all applies. But in my opinion, when you're dealing with something like a knife, right?
Yeah.
90% of what I've seen is utter bullshit. Because like you're dealing with a weapon that doesn't care who you are, who the other person is. Like, in order for a stick to be effective, right? I have to actually try to apply some sort of force into the other person, right? And then it matters because I'm controlling the weapon, right? I don't accidentally bludgeon myself, right? I hit the other guy or I put pressure into him using what part of the weapon I use. With a knife, you could cut yourself just as easy as the other person by accident. And so when you're dealing with something like knife attacks and things like that, I mean, you could train all you want for that. There's a couple of universal truths. You're going to get cut. Like you're going to get cut. You could be the most deadly kung fu master on the planet. If another dude's got a knife and you don't, you're pretty much screwed, right? And you could do the best that you can to do little drills. You can isolate the weapon, in Krav Maga, a lot of times they talk about your primary and your secondary danger. And your primary danger would be what is in front of me now. And the secondary danger is when the person starts to reach for something. What are they reaching for? Are they reaching for a gun? Are they reaching for a knife? And so they try to teach you that as soon as they start reaching for whatever it is, to start isolating that quickly, because now that secondary danger will become your primary issue. And so when it comes to like knife defense and things like that, I mean, you can train it all day long, but chances are good, like you're going to get stabbed or you're going to get cut. Your best option when dealing with a weapon is to have a bigger, better weapon.
That leads into it. But just as a small parenthesis before we go deep into the nunchucks, yeah, I think it's important. I think mindset. People will be surprised how mindset is important because sometimes, yeah, running is the best option. But what if the guy's taller, has longer legs? What if you can't? Anyway, all that. So sometimes just like if you gotta do it, just go for it. I think is the best way to put it because all the training in the world, if you don't have the right mindset when it comes to it, to defend yourself or to sometimes you have to go on the offensive. And if someone has a weapon, the best thing you can do sometimes is to do something right away. Don't give them the space to start using it. Don't hesitate. And I myself, before I had any training, when I was way younger, I was a security guard for a short time, and this crazy guy jumped into a restaurant through a fence, and I followed him there. And you had like all these big bouncers, like in a suit that looked like NFL quarterbacks. You know what I mean? And I have this like cheesy security guard uniform, and I like point to them, and they see right away, okay, and they stop him. But then the guy started reaching in his jacket, and each of them are on either side, and they're physically way better than me for this thing, and none of them was reacting.
Yeah.
And so right away, again, and Simon, I didn't do anything violent. Just put my hand on top of his, and please take out your hand from there. And I reacted instantly. And that day, I kind of realized I was mentally ready for that moment. I had no training. I was really not physically fit back then. And just because my mind was already on what had to be done, whereas the other two guys, like I'm pretty sure that I don't know how much they lifted, but it must have been something insane. And their mind wasn't on what they had to do. So I think all the training in the world is one thing, but when these things happen, very often the people who do best, I find from what I've seen in my life, is someone who's mentally ready for it.
Anyway. Another thing to think about too is like trying to clump, like for instance, something like a knife attack into one category. Like every knife attack is the exact same way is like impossible. Because like I could say, yeah, having a bigger, better weapon, like I said before, is like the way to go. But like everything's circumstantial, right? We don't know what happened. Like maybe they pulled the knife on you and they just asked you for something. Well, they haven't stabbed you yet for a reason. If they're like, yo, give me your wallet. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Here's my wallet. I don't care anything else. If they don't want to stab me, they're not going to stab me. If they are, they are, So everything's situational too. Or if I'm at my house, I got my gun. So somebody comes with a knife, I'm shooting you.
Okay. So this is a problem, like talking martial arts, we start geeking out, getting off track. Let's go back to nunchucks.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the bigger, badder weapon. Now, here's the thing. Recently, you posted a video. And this leads into nunchucks. And this guy, it was a street fight or a street altercation. I don't even know if I could call it a fight. And the guy pulled out nunchucks, but the way he was doing it was kind of like he was like hesitating with it. And then I saw the comments, people like, oh, nunchucks don't work. And then I was like, okay, there are arguments to be made for and against nunchucks, and we're going to get into them. However, that video was not a good representation in the sense that even if the guy had a stick, a straight stick, and sticks worked, it would have been the same. He was hesitating so much with his, like, before striking with it, there was no way he was going to harm the guy. Even if he had hit him straight on, like the guy would have been fine, maybe a little bit hurt. So here's, let me know if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Regarding, I think nunchuck is a self-defense weapon. I don't think it's the most practical one, but I think it has a use. And the use that I think that it has is, first of all, when you carry a knife, it's kind of like it's all or nothing. Either you kill the dude or you don't. You don't really have a lot of options. At least with a nunchuck, I can imagine you can just hit someone, maybe deter them. And the use of it as compared to a stick, this is my theory. Let me know what you think. Is that you can't, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe like nunchuck has these uses, but you can't carry like this long a stick with you. Like, okay, I got myself some nunchucks for his video. So you can't carry like a stick this long with you all the time. But for self-defense, what if you fold it in two, and then you when you swing it, you have that reach. But
Well,
carry.
the video that you were talking about, the guy actually did have them folded up and put in his back pocket, and that's why he started using them. So I will say this, all right, as you know, I've been doing nunchucks now for 23 years of my life, right? That's a long ass time to get good at one weapon. In my opinion, that is one of the most useless weapons on the planet, right? I do it because I like it, right? I do
Okay.
it because it's fun. I don't do it because it's practical.
Okay.
Nunchucks are the most impractical weapon ever. The only people that will carry nunchucks on them for self-defense are fucking weird, right? Those people are weird. They're not the people I'm going to be hanging out with at a party. They're not the people I'm going to sit by next to on a bus. If I sit next to a dude on a bus and I see nunchucks sticking out his back pocket, I knew that dude has mental issues. All right? No, you don't carry nunchucks on you for safety purposes, right? And I'll even get to why I prefer to use nunchucks for recreational use and not as a weapon.
Mhm.
It is a very impractical weapon to learn. What I
Okay.
mean by impractical is not useless, right? Of course, if I am at my house and I go, oh shit, I only have these to defend myself with, I promise you I'm cracking somebody in the teeth and I'll be okay with it. All right. But let's say I'm outside of my house. Would I grab my nunchucks or my gun? I'm grabbing my gun. So like it's the most impractical weapon because you're not just going to see it laying around. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to be like out and about and all of a sudden go, oh shit, I need to defend myself. Let's look what we have. Sword, no. Stick. Like obviously you're not going to find a sword on the ground, right? But in this scenario, if might find a pipe, I might
Yeah.
see a stick. I might
Mhm.
see maybe even something jagged, like the
Yeah.
equivalent of a sharp piece of something that I could
Oh,
use that
the
would be the
wood.
equivalent of a knife.
Or yeah.
There's a lot of improvised weapons that you could use. One improvised weapon you're never going to fucking find is a nunchuck, right? So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way.
I don't know, man. What about the Three Ninjas movie?
Yeah, but that was a movie. Like Michelangelo is my
No, I'm
favorite
pretty
Ninja
sure.
Turtle.
No, Three Ninjas, not Ninja Turtles. Three Ninjas. I'm pretty sure those three kids existed.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
just letting you know. Those people who carry nunchucks for self-defense are weird people. They are weird. All right.
okay.
So we'll just get that out of the way. Next,
Because
what is its uses? So why would I ever learn to do this if it doesn't have any practical use for self-defense? Well, there's more to this than self-defense. So when I first started using the weapon, I did it because the martial art that I was doing before that, or actually during that time, was not flashy. So like whenever somebody was like, "Show me something," I'm like, "What? A jab? A cross? Like a uppercut? A front kick? I'm not sure what you want me to show you." We didn't even really do anything jump kicking or anything like that. It was all basically kickboxing. And
yeah.
so like, all right, well, maybe I want to show this off every once in a while. Like maybe I want to do a demonstration. So I was like, well, the art that I started learning was I started picking up the nunchuck. So that was fun, right? I did it for demonstration purposes. It was a good time. Then I left it alone. I did that for years, years, years. And then for about a year, I stopped training them. I started jujitsu, and then I noticed that my hands, when I was doing gi jujitsu, kept like getting cramped or jacked up. My fingers would get yanked in the gi. My knuckles were starting to swell. Like
Yeah.
grappling arts involving the gi really mess up your hands. And
Yeah.
so I noticed a lot of older guys in jujitsu, their hands are like in this claw position, and so like I didn't want that to be me. And
Yeah.
so one day, like out of nowhere, I just picked up the chucks again. I happened to see them like in my office. So I was like, I'll just play with them again. I started doing it again, and I realized, oh crap, like that makes my hands feel so much better. The dexterity started coming back in my fingers. My hands were much looser. They didn't hurt anymore. And I realized that, oh shit, that it's helping my dexterity in my hands. The other thing, of course, is hand-eye coordination, and it's fun. It's just
Yeah.
fun, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like boxers do a lot of stuff that, because a lot of people will go like, "Oh, you don't do that in a fight." So, for example, um, let's talk about boxing. Like the boxing is very straightforward. You punch dude in the face. There's nothing very mystical about it, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like it's very direct, straightforward. And what do boxers do in their training? They do the ball. They like, you know,
Speed bag.
and the sorry.
Speed bag.
Feedback. Thank you. I was drawing a blank here. See how often I do it. The feedback. So no one in boxing is only gonna go in the middle of the fight. No one's gonna do that. And just by the form I made it, people probably say I don't do feedback very often. And also like when you're using the rope, jumping rope, like you're not only doing this in a fight. However, those things help fighters get better
Yeah, they
because
build
it does other
attributes.
things for them physically in their mind, like and as you said, hand-eye coordination, and something that people who do unarmed fighting and like stuff like stick fighting or whatever, what they often say, and this is not my personal experience. I'm just parroting, so I can't vouch for it, but they say very often that when they do stick fighting, they notice that then when they do like unarmed sparring, they feel like they're faster because the stick is so much quicker in those angles. Like and maybe it's psychosomatic, but they feel like they're prepared to counter and deal with the punches afterwards.
Well, in Filipino martial arts, that's actually something that's very common. So in a lot of Filipino martial arts, you actually learn weapons training before you learn open hand training. And how it was put to me by Dan Inosanto, whenever I took seminars with him, was that basically you're going like on the highway. And so when you're dealing with stick fighting or you're dealing with drills that involve the stick, you're going like 70 miles on the highway. By the time you get off the highway and you go into like a residential area, you're only allowed to go 30 and everything seems to be going in slow motion. And so that is because of your hand-eye coordination. That is because you get used to this certain pace when it comes to stick drills. And then when you do the open hand drills, everything just seems so much slower. And so it's more to like help you with your hand-eye coordination and help you with your dexterity as well. So
you would vouch for that that afterwards it helps be react faster, if you will.
I don't know if it's true. I just know what I was told, man. Like
Okay.
For me, when it comes to like weapons training and stuff like that, like the people that I respect the most in the weapons industry are people who are tried and true. Like I respect Dan Inosanto, I respect Rick Tucci, I respect the Dog Brothers. The Dog Brothers probably have the best applications of stick fighting and Filipino martial arts in the world. I mean, they put their money where their mouth is. They do the gathering every year where you can go and fight anybody you want with any modified weapon that you want, with that's not sharp or an edged weapon. I've seen guys go in there and do the gathering with chains. I've seen guys go in there and do the gathering with sticks. I've seen guys do with nunchucks before. I've seen guys go little small, short, little blunt replicas of knives and stuff like that, and they go full force, full contact MMA. They just have modified fencing masks on, and they have gloves, hockey gloves on. So the gathering is amazing, and the Dog Brothers, I respect them for that because it shows the truth behind weapons training.
Okay, so see, before we start recording, as a joke, I was talking like, yeah, I guess there's no nunchuck fighting championship, and I kind of made that joke, but now you just told me there kind of sort of is.
Well, I mean, you can go to the gathering. And the funny thing about the gathering is they originally sent, like years and years and years ago, they sent the UFC a letter saying we would like this to become like MMA. And the UFC wrote them a letter back saying that this is too brutal, that no one would ever buy it. And they do it every year. It's an amazing thing. And if you want, you and another person, as long as you both agree, can fight full contact with nunchucks if you want. But you could do that with any blunt weapon. So
it's kind of like street beefs, but for weapons.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, as long as you both agree. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, this is interesting. Okay, what do nunchuck fights look like then? Because I haven't seen a video, and what does it look like?
It looks like any other fight with a weapon. You know, like you're using the weapon to gauge and judge distance, and then once you start getting the person at the edge of the weapon, 9 times out of 10, the first 1 or 2 shots happen, and then it's a grappling match.
Yeah. Okay.
You're like 2 bulls, right? I have a weapon, you have a weapon. I don't want to get hit, you don't want to get hit. So we play on the outside, barely just trying to test the water. And all of a sudden that first shot goes and I throw my first shot. Now we're here. And then now you use the weapon differently, exactly. Which is like with any weapon, you have a mid, a long, and a short range for that weapon. And it's used differently. For instance, the best weapon to apply that to is a bullwhip. So with a bullwhip, the very edge of the weapon is the most dangerous part of the weapon. My hand is the least dangerous part of the weapon. If I'm trying to hit you with the outside of that weapon and you're at the outside range and I crack you with the tip of that whip, I'm going to cut you open, right? Mm-hmm. But if you step into that, my intent was not to hit you with the middle of the whip. My intent was to hit you with the edge of the whip. So if you step in, you take a lot of that force off. I'm not saying all of it. It depends on the type of whip. But if I get really, really close, I can no longer hit you with the edge of the whip. I have to hit you with like what they call in Filipino martial arts, I do believe it's called the puño, like the very bottom of the weapon, where I have to hit you with the handle. Oh. And it would be the same thing with a stick or a nunchuck or a stick, right? Yeah. If I try to hit you with a nunchuck like this, but you're on me, that's dumb. Never going to happen. So I would grab the handle and hit you with the bottom of the stick, right?
Okay.
So I'm not going to sit there and try to use it like everybody would think in their head, like, oh, you're flipping it and you're throwing it. That's dumb. That's not how I would use that shit at all.
Okay. Yeah, so, I don't know if that's true. I read that in the 80s in New York, some gangs would have like nunchucks they made out of pipes and chains, and they would put nails on the edge, and shit like that. And um, do you think that's true? I don't know. Do you think
Well,
some
I mean,
people
that sounds like
actually
an
use it
80s.
in combat?
I will tell you, in the United States during the 1970s, during the Kung Fu craze, right? Bruce Lee was big. Everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee. So a
Yeah.
lot of people did start having nunchucks just around.
Right.
So many people, in fact, that a lot of states in the United States made nunchucks illegal. So you weren't allowed to actually have nunchucks in public.
How funny is it that in many of those states you can have a concealed carry weapon like a firearm, but the nunchuck is illegal?
No. Well, the nunchuck was mostly illegal in like liberal states where it was very difficult for you to get a concealed carry any damn way. So,
Oh,
like, it was
okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah, not every state. Like here in Florida, no one ever gave a shit. Like, no one was like, oh my God, concealed carry, but no nunchuck. Like, it never happened like that. So,
Florida, you guys were like, look, we're trying not to get eaten by an alligator going to the restaurant or something. Like, I don't care about the nunchucks. Okay, just for fun, just for fun. Now, you've given your honest opinion about nunchucks. You said what you use them for and what you don't see them as, of course. But that's no fun. I want a fun answer. So imagine someone were to tell you, okay, Rob, I'm gonna give you $5 million if you convince that dude over there that nunchucks are a useful weapon. What would be the arguments for the nunchuck if you had to? And I promise
well,
I'm gonna edit this.
no, no, no. First of
Yeah.
all, I never
Yeah.
said that it wasn't useful. I said
Okay.
that it wasn't practical. So, in order to convince somebody that hitting someone with a blunt object isn't going to work, it's not that hard to convince somebody, right? Like, the thing about a nunchuck is out of every weapon, it really is a fairly difficult weapon to learn, mostly because there's a little fucked up string or rope in the middle, right? And like,
It can
I know people
back.
are like, oh, like, so for instance, it doesn't matter what kinds you have. Like I have this pair, the longer pair as well. I have the shorter pair. Either way, this is rock maple. This is a hard stick. This isn't some little piece of PVC plastic. So if I were to crack somebody in the face with that, as hard as I wanted to, right? Even with those, I'm gonna hurt them. Like because that's a lot of force. It's literally the equivalent of a stick as you start swinging it. The only difference is it's got that little bend in the middle. That's it. Everything else applies the same way. So if I were to take even the pair that you have, that rubber pair, and I were to crack somebody across the face as hard as I really wanted to, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good. It's going to fucking hurt.
So if I were to say you have a choice between a nunchuck or a stick of the same length, which one would you choose? If
For self-defense, I'm taking the stick all day.
say okay, yeah,
All
okay.
day.
So
Stick is typically going to be a little,
yeah,
I'm taking the stick all day. But then again, like it's all like based on like what's practical. And so like when you're trying to use like a nunchuck for certain things, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger if you put your fingers in certain positions, right? Because this can happen. Do you really want your finger getting caught in that in the middle of rolling with somebody and all of a sudden your finger gets trapped and all of a sudden they grab and they start you put yourself in danger. Also, if I wanted to choke somebody with a stick, right? It's a hard weapon. Here, I'll just grab one.
yeah.
So I just grabbed like the most random shit that was in my office. But like this is basically a long stick, like like a shinai or like a what the hell do you call it? A boken. There you go.
Yeah.
And so like, but this is basically just a stick. So if I were to like basically use that to choke somebody, almost like a rear naked choke, this is a solid weapon that I can actually apply and use, right? I cannot do the same thing with a nunchuck. It has too much of a bend and a give. So I would not want to use that for that. I would take a stick all day, every day over a nunchuck because a nunchuck is just not a really practical weapon. And once you start getting too close to another person, it now becomes this in order for me to use it correctly. Well, now I have a little stick. Would I rather have a little stick or the big stick? I'd have the big stick all day,
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I guess the thing about nunchucks, and that's where there's so much debate, I imagine, for people training, is if that was the only thing in the room, it's not that it's useless, it's just that if you compare it to just about any other weapon, there's a reason to take the other weapon every single time. However, training in it is great for hand-eye coordination. It is great fun. You can do flashy stuff.
Helps you with your dexterity from getting arthritis and shit like that. It really does help with a lot of things. It's just not a weapon of choice. I mean, let's just break it down to what is and what is not a weapon. Yeah. This is a pen. This is a weapon if I choose it to be so. Would I rather have the pen or would I rather have the knife? I'd rather have the knife. Even though this can be used as a weapon, so can this be used as a weapon. What's a more effective weapon in my eyes, to me, is the stick over that. Same thing like the knife over the pen.
I mean, you've seen the John Wick movies, right?
Yeah, of course. Not a one nunchuck in them.
Yeah. It's true. That, you know what? I think John Wick 4 needs nunchucks.
Every movie needs nunchucks. I want lightsaber nunchucks so bad you don't even know.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But it's kind of like, I think it's kind of like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, where the guy has a sword and he does all the fancy moves with the sword, and Indiana Jones just shoots him.
Well, it's like, you know, the funny thing about learning like a weapon like nunchucks, right, is there's a lot of flashy things hidden outside of the practical stuff. So like when you do like a finger roll, right, if I'm sitting here, right, and I'm just messing around with the nunchuck and I'm spinning it around my hand and stuff like that, right, this is never how I would use a weapon. I would never do this, ever. Yeah. Why do I do this? Well, because right now, this thing's whipping around fast enough to give me a little breeze, which is nice, but it's allowing me hand-eye coordination, dexterity. It's making my fingers move in a way that they normally wouldn't move, and it's just fun to me. It's fun for me to challenge myself. So whenever, like, but if I were to show you nunchucks in a boring way, it would look like this.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Like, no one wants to look at that shit. So, like, people give nunchucks a hard time because of all the flashiness, but no one wants to see the stuff and pay attention to the stuff that would actually work. So why would you ever show it? Like, it's a double-edged sword.
I saw a video from the Karate Nerd recently, and he showed how he would use a nunchuck practically, and it was really just whipping it, and he had this thing where he kept the hand near the hips because he explained if you're whipping full strength and you try to grab it, you might hurt your finger, so he would have it land against his hip and close the hand on top of it.
So to add to that, actually, anybody who doesn't know who the Karate Nerd is, that's Jesse Enkamp. His brother was in the UFC, but I'm actually going to be teaching him nunchucks on a call. So me and him are going to collaborate because he had a lot of things that I did not agree with in terms of nunchucks. So it'll be and we're homies, we're friends. So I don't mind like us exchanging information. And so that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't agree with you, but we can learn from each other. And one of the things about a nunchuck is Bruce Lee is the reason most people know what a nunchuck is. That's just kind of how it is. And then, of course, you have like fictional characters. You have Michelangelo, right? You have like the movie Sidekicks, and you have all these different movies. But in terms of like in terms of like somebody who actually existed to use them, Bruce Lee is that guy, right? And so you get, if you don't mind, hold on. Let me see if I can switch my screen around so I can see myself here. How do I switch this? Boom. That wasn't it. How do I switch my screen? I'm trying to get it so that way I can see me over you. So when I back up, I know if you can see me or not. How about you just let me know if you can see me, okay?
Yeah, I can. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, and you're in the middle, which is perfect for a split screen later. That's good. Right, yeah.
So if everybody, like whenever you watch Bruce Lee do Bruce Lee shit, you always saw him do like a traditional kabuto type nunchuck, which is funny because the nunchuck was introduced to him by Dan Inosanto as a Filipino martial art weapon. But, you know, you get a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
Right? You get a lot of hitting yourself. You wouldn't even get the hand. Right? The problem with that is I'm hitting myself more than the other guy. Right? So what happens is like the difference in weapon systems is in that traditional kabuto way, you would get a lot of these what's called a catch.
Yeah.
Right? Well, why would I hit myself? It doesn't make any sense. Would you ever do that with any weapon? Would you ever take a sword and go?
You're asking for forgiveness. You know, like you're.
You know, but you would never do that. So in my mind, the idea would be more like in Filipino martial arts. I do believe they call it a redondo, which is hitting through and continuing to hit. I'm never hitting myself here. So as I'm moving the weapon around, no matter what it is I'm doing, I don't have to hit myself or stop. So like when you see, for instance, like the Jesse Enkamp thing where he's swinging and catching, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just called a catch. But I don't have to do that. Why do I have to stop? So after I hit, I can come back through and hit again and continue to hit with the weapon over and over and over again without ever actually hitting myself because I have control of the weapon. Like I'm stopping it. I'm never hitting me. So even if I were to strike across or strike back.
You just, it's so funny because you just validated my 8-year-old self. And I'm going to explain what I mean. As a kid, my favorite Ninja Turtle was Michelangelo. So I had this pair of homemade nunchucks, okay? And they weren't like, they were thin wood, and I would play with them. And what I would do is I would do like the figure 8 on the side.
Yeah.
And so I never trained actually with nunchucks, but I can do some 8s, with it. And I would never stop with them because I would like smack my fingers. So I thought I was thinking like, oh, I can't do it properly, but I can twirl it around and continue the motion. In my head, I was doing it wrong because I could never stop it.
No, that's not wrong, right? So
Okay.
like in the weapon system, it's called a 1-to-2. So a 1-to-1 is this, right? It's one circle. I'm making one circle, and that energy is making another circle. And I can stop at any time. So I'm just 1-to-1, right? One movement, one circle. Now, if I take that, I can turn sideways. I can turn this way. If I go this way, it's upward.
Yeah.
If I go this way, it's downward. But it's still the same crap, right? Now, if I take that, right, let me just go ahead and turn it this way so you can see it. Notice how it's beside me now? Well, now that's still a 1-to-1. Now, if it goes across, look, that's a figure 8. That's a 1-to-2. One movement is creating 2 circles. If I can stop over here, it's a 1-to-1. If I stop over here, it's a 1-to-1, right?
Okay,
so if I were to hit, right, and I hit through, I can keep hitting with that same circle. If I do a 1-to-2, which is actually what you usually get with a lot of people with any weapon, they'll like pick up a stick and it'll be 1, 2, 1, 2, and they'll just go across. Like that's practical, right? I hit you once, I hit you again, I hit you once, I hit you again. Like, and if I ever want to stop, I just stop. It's that easy. Look, didn't hit myself, didn't need to catch it. Didn't hit myself, didn't need to catch it.
Because you're keeping it away. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, when they first start learning how to use a nunchuck, they keep everything tight. That's when they hit themselves in the head or the knee or the collarbone. I think it's funny. But like, if you want to not hit yourself, extend and reach. Like, just reach out. Look, it's not touching me. It's nowhere near me. But if I try to do all this, like, kind of real choppy, really tiny movements, like you see a lot of people when they first pick them up, that's when you start hitting yourself. You need to extend and expand your arms out, So,
just for a record, and in a moment, okay, this was something planned. So, Rob, you're going to show me a few moves that I can try.
Yeah, of course.
I want to state right now, I will be unable to do anything that goes between my fingers, but anything else I'm going to try. But I have this theory where if people insist on training with them, look at you go. So anyway, if someone insists on, okay, I want to train with nunchucks and I want to be able to use them, like my theory is that it would be a good idea to grab like an old punching bag you don't care about and actually hit it to get used to how it might bounce back. Am I wrong in this or?
Well, I mean, you can, but the thing isn't necessarily about it bouncing back because if you hit the bag or a person correctly, then it won't bounce back.
Okay, so I thought it might like go like this and then come back, like the impact.
Just so that way you can kind of see, right? So if you look, I'm choosing to use these, although I don't prefer these. I prefer these. Okay. But I'm choosing to use these because these are close to what you have. Okay. But if you look, no matter what weapon it is, right? It's all about the depth. So if I hit with the middle portion, with whatever it is I'm hitting, it will bounce back. I want to hit with that last 2 inches. So if I hit with that last 2 inches, what's going to happen is because the weapon is going to kind of go kilter a little bit once you hit, and actually will be a little bit like this in the air, especially if you have a longer pair. Like the shorter pair, right, I actually have more control. So if you look, the reason I prefer it is like, look at this particular pair, and you can actually try this with yours as well. But if I hold on to this side, this particular stick, and I put the other stick in my hand like this flat, and I just keep my hand open, if I rotate the stick I'm holding on to, the other stick will not rotate. You can do that all you want.
Well, so mine also has this thing that turns So.
Yeah, mine isn't turning either.
And no, but mine has a rotation. So I think this is really for one of these, the one I bought, and it was a cheap one, so that's fine. Because see, it turns here. There's a rotation here.
But that's my point. That's the point. So even if it was a long rope, if you kept doing this, what would happen is the rope would bind, but eventually it would take forever for me to have control of this weapon. Well, if I have a shorter pair, which makes it closer to a stick, if you look, doing the exact same thing, as I turn the stick that I have, look what happens with the other stick.
Rolls right away.
Because I have control of that end. So like with this, I don't have nearly as much control of my weapon as I do with this. Just by showing you that example hopefully proves that, but you don't have nearly as much control, even if it's just that much. Another thing is when you're hitting something, right? This has a lag to it. So as I go to hit, yeah, it'll be fairly straight, but the longer this rope or section is, the more it's going to kilter. The shorter, the less it will kilter, right? And so when you hit, it's a little easier to hit through things, like a stick. So like if I were to example to hit something, right? Like let's say just this chair. This will probably work, right? So you can see the chair, right?
Yeah.
If I were to hit the chair.
Wait. When we have a split screen, the chair might not. Maybe. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So I have the chair, right? Watch what happens when I take the chuck, and I'm just going to hit it flat on the surface.
Okay.
All right. One more time.
Yeah.
If you notice what's happening is it's hitting flat. It can't work its way through, so it's bouncing the only way that it can. Now, if I do that exact same thing with the tip, it's trying to bounce back, but what's happening is because I'm only hitting with that edge, and now this is a terrible example of something to hit, by the way, but you're wanting to hit with the very edge so it goes through instead of bouncing back. And really what will happen more times than not, which is another reason that I would not want this as a self-defense tool, is it'll bounce back and hit you in the hand. And that's going to hurt, right? So that's not how you want it to be, you know?
Well, I guess it's time. I guess it's time for me to show my stuff.
All right, cool. So
let's
start with something real easy, dude. Like I said, I've been doing it for a while, so I'm all right teacher.
Okay, I can show you what I can already do sort of with it.
All right, let's see it.
Do like this sort of stuff. So this is what I would do when I was 8 years old with those like. So I think those motions, I was like, I thought I was doing it wrong, but now you're telling me it's fine to not stop. So that's encouraging for me. Yeah, I just hit my.
Yeah, it's not wrong. It's different, right?
Okay.
With martial arts, it's funny because it's martial and art. So if any time that it's not applicable to a fight, you can just blame it on it being art.
Also, I bought this T-shirt just for this video. I just want to say that.
It is a fantastic shirt.
Thank you.
All right, so I do want to show you something. So before we even really get started, there's just a couple terms that'll help you, okay? One, whenever you're holding the weapon like this, where your thumb can point at the other stick, right? Can you see? This is called holding it in the positive.
Okay.
Right? So no, it's just the ability to show that my thumb can point at the other. It's not how I hold it, but I'm just letting you know if your thumb can point at the other stick, you're holding it in what's called the positive grip. Okay. If you hold it upside down with your thumb away from the other stick, this is called the negative grip. All right? So just for terminology's sake. All right? Okay. Next one, and then we'll move on. You have 3 different places that you can hold this for 3 different reasons. You can hold it at the bottom, giving yourself a little bit of room. The reason you give yourself a little bit of room is just in case your hands get a little sweaty and you can work your way up. But also, this is where you would actually hit people. So if I needed to hit somebody, I want that range, I want that reach, which I agree with that with what Jesse Enkamp said about striking. Then you have the top. With the top, you're going to, basically you can touch the tip of the top with your thumb. Can you touch the very top of that weapon with your thumb? That's the top.
Yeah.
So the top is for
I don't want to get my thumb near the chain, though, I have to admit. But yeah, I can.
Yeah, so the thumb is for like holding it up high is for like flashy things. Hand rolls and thumb rolls and stuff like that, all right? Or just moving it around your hand. That's why I would hold it at the top. This is more like for demonstration purposes, all right? Okay. And then finally, the middle, which is you transitioning. So like if I hold the bottom and I decide I'm going to start working on striking and hitting things with the weapon, I can actually creep my hand up and then I'm at the top again.
What?
I did that by moving my hand up the weapon as I was doing it. So, and transition,
again?
kind of like playing the piano. Your hand can transition up and down the weapon as you go. There you go. Now there, start crawling your hand up. There you go. Not as hard as it seems, right?
Well, I have to concentrate a lot on it, so I wouldn't be able to.
All right.
Okay.
So, because like I said, I think that the nunchuck is one of the most impractical weapons ever. I'm just going to show you a fun one to play with, okay? So I want you to hold it in the positive, and I want you to hold it at the top. All right? Punch your hand out like you're making a fist, right?
Okay.
And now what I want you to do is I want you to take your thumb, and you're going to pinch the chuck. So all I'm doing is taking my thumb, and I'm holding on really tight, and I'm going to stick my 4 fingers out. So right now, the only thing holding on to it is just my thumb. All right. Now from here, I'm going to take the opposite stick, and it's going to go over my hand. So don't do it yet. Just watch. Over my hand. That's it. Nice. Now you should be able to let go. All your fingers should be free because it's just sitting on your hand, right? Now from here, what I want you to do, don't move your arm at all. Just turn your thumb down towards the floor.
Oh, wait, my thumb was in the wrong place. Okay, wait.
No, that's fine. Doesn't really matter.
Here?
Just take your hand, turn your thumb down.
Ah.
Nope. So you're trying to like actually do directions I didn't give you. So let's try it again. You ready? Hold on to the nunchuck.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on to it with just your thumb. Kick it over your hand.
Okay.
Now stop there. Your fingers should be free. Now from here, you're not going to move the nunchuck. You're only going to move your hand. So turn your entire hand down so your thumb is at the floor.
Like this?
Yep, that's it. Now grab the stick.
Okay.
Now kick it off to the side.
Okay.
You just did a hand roll. So start over. So go back to the beginning. Start over in the positive.
Okay.
Hold on to it with just your thumb. Kick it over onto your hand. Let go. Turn your thumb and hand down. Grab. And that's it. Now, when you speed that up, that's real slow. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to whip it. Your whole arm is going to move. If your arm moves from right here, it will fly across the room. Don't move your arm. So if you watch, my arm stays here. I kick it. It falls in my hand. It all happened because I did everything step by step. I just did it a little faster. Notice how I completely let go. It went over and fell onto my hand, right?
Okay.
And I grabbed when it fell in my hand. So you're going to want to reach for it. If you do that, you will throw your nunchuck across the room. So don't do that. I repeat, don't move your arm from where it's at. So let's try it one more time. We're going to do it a little quicker. So holding it here. What I want you to do this time is we're going to do it all in one motion. It's all going to be your wrist. You're going to open your hand. You're going to kind of flip the nunchuck over your hand. As it's going over your hand, just turn your hand down. Exactly. And it should just fall in your hand.
Okay, let's see if I can do this at a decent speed. There we go. Ish.
There you go. And now it's just smoothing it out in practice, right? So you just open your hand and it falls in it.
Ah.
That's okay.
I wanted to do this.
Well, it did that because you're reaching. So if you look, right, arm doesn't move at all. It falls in your hand. One more time. It falls in your hand. Don't reach for it. Beautiful.
Sort of. Grabbing the chain again. Guess because I'm moving my hand like you said. See. Yeah.
You're getting it. Just takes time, man. Time and practice.
Okay. See, any other tricks? Let's see, a second trick to before going?
Sure, of course. So I'll show you another easy one. You said that you would have a hard time getting things through your fingers. I disagree. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold it in the middle.
Wait, I just figured why you have a cable instead of a chain. Okay, there you
go. All right. So hold it in the middle this time.
Yes.
Still in the positive grip. And what I want you to do is I want you to point the nunchuck at me.
Okay.
Kind of like you cast out. You ever gone fishing?
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't really remember.
Kind of like fishing, right? So now we're pointing at each other. What I want you to do is if you can see my index finger, I want you to just make that bad boy wiggle for me, okay? Okay. We're going to take index finger, and it's going to go over the top of the nunchuck.
Okay.
Good. Now from here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you first, is I'm going to make the nunchuck come up and over my hand. And as it comes up and over my hand, it's going to just glide around that finger, and I will catch it upside down on the same stick. So one more time, I'm here. I kick my finger over the top. There you go. From here, I'm going to let the nunchuck come at me. But when it does so, I want to catch the same stick, the same one you're holding. Instead of the positive, it will be in the negative.
Okay.
So all it did was, it didn't do a whole bunch of turns. It just went from the positive. As soon as it got over to the negative, I grabbed it.
Okay.
So like a half rotation. So we're here one more time.
Yep.
You have your finger, right? You're going to kick the nunchuck up as it goes. It's going to rotate around that index finger, and you're going to grab it upside down.
Okay.
All right, so let's take
Very
that.
well. Party trick number 2. Oh, but see, wait. If you want to show this at parties, that's when you have to carry it with you in the bus.
I would suggest not. That would still make you weird.
Okay. Okay, here I go. No, wait.
So don't
I
try
have a claw right now. I don't want to let it go. It's weird. Okay.
Yeah, because it's coming at your face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe I should try it this side.
That was it.
Yeah. Okay. I can do better.
Of course you can. It's the first time you did it.
I'll practice it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like I said, nunchuck is the most impractical weapon ever, right? But the thing about a nunchuck is when you start moving around with it, who cares? I just do it for fun. I do it because I enjoy it. I like it for hand-eye coordination. And it's really fun when you start to like get it down, because right now you're just dealing with one, right? Like let's say you had 2, it allows you to do different things with different hands. So like on one hand, I could be doing something like a finger roll or a thumb roll, and the other hand's doing something completely different. Or I could throw it, right? I could put it in the other hand, or I could toss it over to the other side, right? That's it.
It's kind of funny because what you're saying is true. Like I bought this in preparation for this video, and I was waiting for his T-shirt. It was really important to me to have this T-shirt, and I already had the nunchucks for a while. And it's kind of like you're on the phone and you see it on the side. You see the nunchucks. My hand was like, okay, You're kind of like using it as you're talking on the phone. It's like very addictive. This thing. It's kind of like a fidget. I never used a fidget spinner, but you know how people like use it, and you're like, what are they doing? And I was kind of doing the same with these. So I was just fidgeting with them. It's kind of funny. Anyway.
Yeah, because it's fun. Like I said, it's all about just enjoying it. It has its uses. Would it work? Would it hurt if you hit somebody? Yes. Should you be the guy who carries nunchucks on you all the time? No. Like I said, those people are weird, right? Show me one guy. Give me one guy who carries nunchucks with him everywhere. I am more than welcome to have an open conversation with him. I guarantee you he's weird. Or she, not discriminating.
That's simple. Yes. It's the thing is that, I think the realistic equivalent would be the batons that you can extendable batons. I think like if you're a person, for some reason, the idea of a gun, you don't like it, or in your country it's more complicated, whatever it is, I think the extendable baton would be the more logical equivalent, right?
Or like if you want like a practical weapon, right? Like usually a knife is a great practical weapon to carry with you. Like you said, I think a baton is very much a practical weapon you could carry with you. It is a little bulky and it's a little bit more unique, and maybe harder to find. Because like I go in here in the United States, I can go into a convenience store and buy a knife. I can just walk in. They have like a little display. I can buy one right there.
Oh, here Army surplus. You can get in Montreal. You can buy those batons at the Army surplus.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So like, it's all like pepper spray, stuff like that. There's a lot of weapons that you even like what they call a kubaton. So a kubaton's like a little stick, or it's like sometimes it's pointy, but it's like goes on your kitchen.
I saw it. Yeah.
But all day, every day. Obviously, a nunchuck, like we talked about, like I do not feel like it's a practical weapon, but at the same time, I don't do it because it's practical. I do it because it's fun.
And that's all you need in life, that's the thing that also, like martial arts, there's a lot of self-expression. There's a lot of being in like aware of your body and the movements and like you see stuff like Tony Ferguson like in a demonstration at some point was doing some kung fu moves and um, some people are like, why is he doing that? Like he's not going to do it in a fight. And, okay, but those motions, those movements, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people, a lot of them do yoga. You're not using yoga in a fight. It's just you're aware of your body. So there's a lot of things where I think there's something to be said just for what's the use of it, just being in touch with yourself, being in touch with your movements, like and it's
Well, I
but
think that
they're
as
fun.
long
They're fun. That's it.
I think as long as they're not being packaged as self-defense, I think that's all that matters. If
Yeah.
you're doing something because you love it and it's fun for you, go for it. Would I ever call a paintballer and say, "Hey man, I need you to defend our country with your paintball skills"? I would never ask that because that's not what they're doing it for. They're not doing it because they're like going to be these tactical giants. They're doing it because they're playing a fun game, And so like when people in the martial arts, I think what we're really missing more than anything else is empathy. There's like no empathy. We look at something that's not something that we do and we automatically bash it and we talk shit about it.
Yeah.
Obviously I do, right? Because I do what I do for a living. I call
Yeah.
out fakes, frauds, and phonies. I think the only difference is that if I see a guy who's just punching and kicking in his living room, I would never post that. I would never make
No.
fun of that because that
No.
guy
Yeah.
is just training,
Yeah.
right? But if I saw a guy teaching utter crap to students, I'm calling that out because of their safety, because they're
Yeah.
being ripped off. And so if you want to do things like kung fu, if you want to do weapons training, if you want to learn like chain dart, if you want to learn like sword and stuff like that, are you ever going to be carrying a sword around you? I hope not, because again, that would make you weird. But if you wanted to learn those angles of attack, so that way you could pick up anything and still hit, then that's fine too. It's all about packaging, labeling, and it's all about having a little bit of empathy for other people. So like when people look at Tony Ford, why would you ever do that? Like, why are you talking shit from behind your computer screen on a couch? This man's about to go into a cage and fight another man, and
Yeah.
like you're gonna sit here and talk shit about him when you have never done the same thing. And even if you have done
Yeah.
the same thing, you're a different person than he is. You can
Yeah.
see the world through your eyes. He's allowed
Yeah.
to see the world through his. Let him do it as long as he's not hurting anybody else.
Yeah. Well, he's hurting lots of people, but they signed up for it.
Oh yeah, well, I mean they did get paid for it.
I'm just making jokes. Yeah, the only and the only exception I make about like I agree with you. Like sometimes people like find videos of people practicing pads and stuff like that, and they kind of like make fun of them. And I guess we can go all the way back to the Star Wars kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only exception I have is like Stephen A. Smith because of what he said about Cowboy Cerrone. I will laugh at him hitting pads, but that's my only exception. Otherwise, other than that one guy, I agree with you. There's a lot of meanness and there's a lot, and it's kind of funny because very often they're like private profiles. The people who talk the worst, you kind of like tap on their profile, whatever platform you're on, private profile. It's never like someone who
Of
goes in
course.
front of. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, this is
but
why I
okay.
go live. So like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on my Instagram page, I go live at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and I let absolutely anybody join. Don't care who they are. Doesn't matter. I let anybody join. If they want to say absolutely anything to me, they can. And I've been doing it now ever since it was a thing, like an ability to do on Instagram. And I got to tell you, I still had yet to have one person join who would say some stuff in the comment section. Like if they say it in the comment section, I automatically hit their name and I pull them up. I'm like, come on live, and they never do. It's
Yeah.
because to them, which is very sad in all
Yeah.
honesty, like it really does make me sad when I think about it, is like this is their outlet. So
Yeah.
in order for them to feel some sort of happiness or self-worth, they feel like they have to put someone else down. And that's not a good reason to put somebody down. You could put somebody down because they're evil. You could put somebody down because they do things that harm other people. Like I would put a pedophile down all day. If
Oh yeah.
somebody's a pedophile, I will put them down for that because that is wrong to do. But if you're just going on somebody that you don't know and they haven't done anything wrong to you or anybody else, and you're just bashing them, that's really sad because that's the joy that they have in life. And so for those type of people, I feel utterly sad for them because like what else joy do they have? If they had other joy, they'd be finding it there,
It'd be
but they
too
don't.
easy. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Like for example, when you look at Ben Askren's Instagram, you still see comments about the knee. And I'm like, it's been how long now? And like, for example, Ben Askren will do a video about his disc golf. And then you still see plenty of comments about like the fact that Masvidal knocked him out with a knee. And I'm just like, they're still, or they go like, oh, what are you doing posting again? I'm like, you're following him. You go check out what he's doing. you take the time to comment, and like those people, I guess like it makes them feel superior that they get to write that, but it makes no sense. Like what have they done, you know? And it's just this crazy thing where you have a two-time world champion. He had one bad fight, one really bad fight there, and all these private profilers, like they just feel like they get to have one on him, and it's like, do they understand how reality works? You know, like it just baffles me. They keep going back there. You know, it's just weird.
And slowly but surely, what's also weird is that people become acclimated to the way that they speak to people online, and then that's how they speak to people in real life. And so they start talking to people in a very certain way, and they're used to getting away with that,
Yeah.
because they're hiding behind a computer screen. And then somewhere along the line, their ego gets the better of them, and they forget that they're no longer behind a computer screen, and they're going to say that to somebody, and they're going to get messed up, man. Like sometimes, like if I have a troll, right? I can't. I could probably name how many people want to fight me. It would take me a novel to do, right? Like there's so many people that want to fight me for what I do. It's ridiculous.
I
Why
don't
don't
want.
I fight them? Well, why don't I fight them? Because what would us fighting prove? That they could beat me? Okay, cool. You win. You beat me. I don't give a shit. I have no ego in this game. You can kick my ass. Cool. You can kick my ass. To them, that's infuriating. Like, oh my God, I'll fuck you up. Like, of course you will. All right, cool. You win. Like, I
Like
don't care if it's true or not. It doesn't matter to me because I'm going to live a peaceful, happy life where I don't need to fight internet trolls all goddamn day. Like I'll move on with my life. I'll block them and they'll be infuriated by it. Or they'll be like, oh, I win because I blocked, like I got blocked. Like, no, you got blocked because I want to have happiness in my life and you're providing me with this shadow of negativity and that people feed off of that. I would much rather not have that in my life.
well, I noticed. Okay, there's so many things you said where I agree. For example, you posted a video at some point, and I'm a big fan as well. And he would kill the both of us, even if we attacked him at the same time. Anderson Silva
Mm-hmm.
posted a knife defense video that made no sense whatsoever, and I will stand by that. Like that guy would we would attack him at the same time with the two
Well,
nunchucks each. He would mess us up. See, I brought back the nunchucks to keep it in the team. But nevertheless, that knife defense, I have to say, made no sense because the knife was too close to the neck. It was kind of that thing where you turn around it, and it's kind of one of those things where, okay, if Anderson Silva were to beat us up at the same time, he didn't disprove that the knife defense was too dangerous to use. He just proved he can beat us up in a fist fight or whatever. So these things are important to be said, and people who it's almost like people want to be part of the toughness of martial arts or MMA, and they feel like if they criticize someone, they get to be tougher, if only for their observation, or it's kind of weird, or they feel like they're part of the thing. And you know what you said about how people they just get used to talking a certain way. One time that happened to me where I was face to face with that sort of person because um, I was in public transportation with my pregnant fiance, and the guy had his backpack. It was a like metro full of people, and the guy's just like the backpack bumped into her. So I just moved the backpack away and said, "Please move." And the guy didn't like my tone, right? So he started like just he was in my face, and we're talking about someone who's very how can I put this? I'm just gonna say it in a way that I can tell that guy doesn't move a lot. I can tell that guy doesn't wouldn't be able to lift much. I could tell like just he was very agitated and he was starting to say stuff and I was looking at him and I was just thinking like, do you not understand when you say those things to someone? And I wasn't going to do anything physical, of course. Like my problem had been settled. The backpack was away from her, but I was just baffled. And I was actually funny to say, I was kind of like just baffled. I was like, this guy's saying all that stuff to my face, but I could tell that he wasn't saying it in a way of someone who's ready to do something about it. He was just saying it because that's what he was feeling because I moved him. And he had this emotional reaction. And I was really baffled because I was like, modern society is full of those people. They just have this emotional reaction, but they don't understand that when you say certain things to people, they might act on it at some point. It's not just this thing where you get to say whatever you want. Or I mean, yeah,
well,
if you find
there are
people good.
consequences to your words, right? And that there are reactions to your words. Like you can use your words and change people's lives. I mean, that's why quotes exist, right? People quote people because words are powerful. You can
Yeah,
use them to uplift people, or you can use them to put people down. To continue just a little bit with the Anderson Silva thing. When I
yeah,
posted the knife defense about Anderson Silva, I quite literally captioned it just like that he could beat me up. But I
yeah,
think people forget that you don't necessarily have to be good and right all the time. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. And I try to use the page as an idea and a concept for us to learn from those mistakes. When I posted something up like Anderson Silva, I'm not saying he's a fraud and a phony. I'm saying that clip, that moment is bullshit. And that's okay. We all have those moments. If I were to film absolutely anybody for their entire life and shove a camera in their face, I'll eventually catch some stuff I don't like. What we forget is that good people do bad things too. That doesn't make them bad people. It means they had bad moments. Like, for instance, if I were to say somebody like Ray Charles, what comes to your mind?
Ray Charles. Wait, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
He's a blind famous musician.
Yes, Ray. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah. Okay.
So,
well,
like,
I'm a musician, like blind.
Yeah, but Ray Charles was a heroin addict and a womanizer. So he abused women and he was a heroin addict.
I didn't even know that.
When I hear the word Ray Charles, do I think about him as an entire person, or am I nitpicking who he was for my benefit? Because if I don't like him, I'm going to call him a heroin addict. If I like him, I'm going to call him a great musician, right? Mm-hmm. But he's both. He can be both. You could do great things and still make terrible mistakes. Look at Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson changed music industry for a lot of people. And if it wasn't for him and his music, a lot of people would have never started and gotten a passion to become a musician. But he was a pedophile. So, like, what is he? Is he a famous musician or a pedophile? He can be both. And it's the same thing with Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is one of the greatest pound-for-pound MMA fighters of all time. But he also taught a bullshit knife self-defense technique. So it's okay to do both. It's okay to understand that people aren't going to be perfect all the time, nor do they need to be. But having open discourse like adults and discussing those things and treating people like an entire person and not just one moment of their life, like you were talking about Ben Askren, right? It's basically what people do who don't have any empathy. They could care less about Ben Askren's feelings. They could care less that there's a real person behind there. They could care less about all these great things that he's done because they don't like him. They're going to pick on this one thing that's negative. And that's bullshit.
Well, if anything they hate him because he did all that before, right? So if what I mean to say, Ben Askren is a good example of exactly what you mean, is that if that guy was a new guy to the UFC and he had gotten knocked out, people wouldn't still be talking about it. The reason why people are still bashing him is because of all the great things he did before. So a lot of people love to see those who fall from, well, I wouldn't even say he fell, he just lost the fight, but those who fall from up high, you know, it's like it gives them validation, right? Because it's kind of like, oh, look, he's no better than me. Like, it gets really messy because when people accomplish great things, some people are going to feel bad about themselves. And I think that's the thing. If that was just a random fight with a new fighter, no one would be talking about it. It's just the fact that everything he did before, right?
Well, so that's like
where you talk about the sadness of what they do. You know, like they needed to see someone who did great things fail. And instead of saying, oh, even those who do great things can fail sometimes, it's fine if I fail. Instead of going that way, they went, he's no better than me, you know, like.
Well, that's exactly what cancel culture is. Like, cancel culture is an idea that you said something I don't agree with, or you did something I don't agree with, so I want to ruin your entire life, no matter what it is that you've done, because I don't agree with one thing.
Yeah.
That's like somebody who I would never fucking hang out with. I would never be around somebody who nitpicks every little thing that you say. Like, that's dumb. Like, that's a very sad life to live, is somebody who sees somebody doing something great and then goes, oh, well, you said this about this thing I don't agree with, so I think that everybody should know how you feel. Like
when you were 12,
everybody already knows. The difference is now you're trying to get a mob to back and validate your sad life. You know, you want to feel better than you did the day before, and it makes you feel good to bring this person down. Like, who winds up being a better person because they just smashed somebody who's like doing good? Like, I don't get that. And sometimes it's valid. Sometimes if somebody does something that's terrible, people should know about it, especially if it will affect other people. But if it's just like somebody voicing their thoughts or their opinions, like, leave that up to individuals to make a decision. You don't need to attack them over them thinking differently than you. Or, even better, write them and talk to them. You'd be amazed how many people are just people, no matter how famous they are. Just write them and say, hey man, you said this thing about this. Like I was just wanted to add a little bit more, like what you really thought. Maybe they never write you, but I can tell you one thing. I have 500,000 people that follow me around the world through various social medias. I answer every message I ever get.
How long does that take?
It's a 15-hour a day job. So I just try to keep up with it as I can.
Okay, Rob, listen. This has been a lot of fun, and we're over an hour now. Geez, so I'm really I'm really looking forward to that video you're gonna do with JC Encamp, again about nunchucks. So I think it's very interesting when you see people debate these things. I think that's the best thing you can do. In fact, recently JC Encamp and Icy Mike did this video where Icy Mike did a kata, and that was I was looking at the video and in a way that I was thinking like that's awesome. That is awesome. You know, like as funny as it can be to sort of see like a beef between Ramsey Du and Master Wong and stuff like that. You know, like I think there's something to be said about two martial artists going, okay, this is what I think. Oh well, this is what I think, and then sometimes they kind of learn something along the way. And that was that video, the kata with Icy Mike, and it was kind of like very positive, very interesting, and I just loved it. So when you tell me that you and Jesse Enkamp are gonna do this video about nunchucks, first of all, what's in the air about nunchucks recently? I don't know. And second, again, that's a sort of thing I want to see in martial arts because it's just like talk about it, practice it. You know, like you practice martial arts, practice it with someone. You know, like just I don't know. It's just very positive. And in life, do something. Don't just complain. Do something. You know, like.
Yeah, I think it's all about us we're all on this little rock together. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have a choice whether we like it or not, so we might as well enjoy our time. Like it's very hard to enjoy. Imagine like if the internet was a party, right? And everybody's hanging out having a good time, right? And you physically were inside this party and everybody's doing their own thing. And then you decide out of nowhere to start walking around the party going, you're fat, you're stupid, I don't agree with what you said. Chocolate's dumb. I like strawberries. If you were that guy at a party, people would beat the shit out of you, right?
Yeah.
They would kick you out, right? I wish the internet was a little bit more like that. Like if these people want to be party poopers, that's the beauty of the block button. I will never be ashamed of using it either, because when that's based, I'm holding a party at my house, which is my account, and then all these people are invited. Everybody's invited, regardless of your race, color, creed, religion. Everybody's invited, right? We're all gonna have a good time. And then here you come, drunk, stumbling in the party about 3 hours late, and you start talking shit about everybody in the party, including me. I'm going to kick you out of the party, and that's the beauty of the block button.
It's even I gotta mention it. Like even I did an interview with Tim Sylvia recently about his arm, that UFC wasn't paying for his arm surgery for something that he had for the arm break that he got in a UFC fight.
Yeah.
So he paid initially, but now he's not a UFC employee. They wouldn't pay for it and all that. And when I was reading the comments, and I shortly in interview, it's not like I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but shortly I mentioned in Canada, we do have the healthcare system, you know, because I kind of felt like I had to bring it up, but it wasn't a thing where I wanted to make it about that. This is an MMA show. It's not Bruno's political show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I read the comments, and I personally, as a Canadian, love that we have this health system. So if you're to ask me about that, that will be my opinion. But then I was reading comments, and they were kind of like, basically the comments were sort of a serves him right for being right wing. I was like, what kind of mentality is that? And it's like, okay, look, let's say someone has this happen to them, and that's where you come at it from. Like, do you think you're gonna make any friends? Do you think you're gonna convince, or do you think you're just gonna confirm any bias they might have had about just the other side being the enemy? And you know, when people treat each other that way, like all those politicians kind of win. You know, like if you can't have any empathy for the other side, and it was just very discouraging. And also what I noticed is I hate censoring to some degree, but I was kind of finding myself, okay, should I censor this because they're really insulting him? At the same time, I want to address the argument, so I didn't censor it. I replied to the arguments. I felt like
there is definitely a difference between censoring someone and blocking someone.
Yeah.
So like if somebody's entire sole purpose to exist in the space you created, it's your home. Mm-hmm. So like like when I wake up every morning, I am quite happy to go to work, right? I get out of bed, I come to the office, and I start working. And I love my job. I love being able to call out people who are financially detrimenting people, people who are getting people seriously injured, people who are raping kids. Being able to call those people out and shine a light on that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm helping the community and doing something good for people, right? Whenever I see somebody bash the work that I put into something, they don't have to follow you. So I always think, what is the reason for you following me? Because if the only reason for someone to follow you is to shed nothing but hate for the thing that you do, then that means that the only reason that they're there is because they do want to criticize you over and over and over again. And that's fine. They are more than welcome to do so, where they get to write whatever it is they want to write. But again, if you have the right to say and do what you want to say and do, I have the right to say and do what I want to do. And what I want to do is I want to block you, and I want to live a happy life where I don't have to listen to you hate me every day.
Yeah, no, in this case, it was one of those things where within those insults that I wish hadn't been in the comments, there was like their argument, and I wanted to put the counter argument to that. So that's why I left it there, because they were calling him names, and I was like, but
another way to look at it, another way to look at it is like, again, if this was a real place, if the internet was a real place, right? Imagine somebody walking up to your face and telling you something like that.
It's been Cillian telling him that.
Like, so there are only two options here, right? I can stay there and argue with them, which I would never do in real life. If a stranger came up to me and said something negative to me, I would not want to waste any more time with them. I would walk away. Or the other option is I'm going to fight you. Like, as an adult, I'm going to move on with my life, and I don't care what you have to say, right? So that me blocking or you blocking somebody isn't censorship. You're walking away from a fight, and you're removing them from the situation. Like, again, people like to look at the internet like it's some kind of like magical place. It's really not. It's just like real life. And if that's how you're going to interact with me online, I'm assuming that that's how you're going to be in real life, even if you don't have the balls to be that way. But I would much rather remove myself from that situation. So me blocking them isn't me removing them. It's removing me. I never have to worry about that again.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm someone who doesn't back away from arguments in the sense of, well, here's what I don't do. I don't do the eternal loop. You know what I mean? Like, once I get my argument, if the person goes back to it and it's not adding anything to it, that's where I kind of stop. But I'm never afraid of addressing stuff. Like, someone has an argument against something I believe, I'll listen to it. I'm not afraid of it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. But you're right. It's very true in that sense. Because I never want to be the censorship guy. But you're completely right. It's kind of like your home, right?
The difference is that this is not their platform. Censoring them would be going to their platform and stopping them from saying what they want to say. That's censorship.
Good point. And often they don't even have a platform. It's just a private profile, so whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's like, but yeah, like, so like if they have a profile, on that profile, even if it's private, I would never friend them and then tell them what they can and can't say, because that's their right. But then again, they don't get to tell me that either. And so it's so much easier for me to remove myself from that situation. And again, I would rather have a happy, positive life in which people actually enjoy the thing that I do for them. And if they don't enjoy it, they don't have to be there. But if they stick around just so that way they can start taking a crap in the punch bowl, then I'll remove myself from the situation. That's not censorship. This is my platform. You don't get to tell me what to say and do, and I don't get to tell you what to say and do. You will have your own platform in which you have the ability to do that. But if you're going to come to my house and you're going to think that you can say whatever the fuck it is you want to say to me, you're incorrect. Because just like in person, I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm going to remove myself. That's what that block button's for. It's not censorship. It's your platform. They're in your house.
I'm very deep person. So you're completely right. You're completely right. I'm gonna apply that mentality. It's kind of like if you do a party at your house and someone's acting like a douche, you tell them to leave. It's not censoring them to ask them to leave your house. So that's actually a very good metaphor.
They can go to the street. They can go to the street. They can yell. They have the right to say whatever they want. But again, like if I'm at work, right, and I'm at my job, I'm no longer at my house. I'm at my job's house. And so when I go to work and all of a sudden I say some stupid things, my boss does get the opportunity to tell me, hey, you need to calm that down, because it's not my house. I'm on their time, I'm on their dime, And in order for me to be able to continue to get paid, I need to understand the boundaries that have been established, right? And that's important. At my house, do whatever I want. I have that right?
There you go. That's perfect. Okay. So again, thank you. I thought I was ending the video earlier, but you're very easy to talk to. Like conversations just flow with you. But look, thank you very much for your time. Like before we go, I think we should have like this shot with the nunchucks for the snapshot of the video.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm down. Yeah, for sure. Hold on. Let me pull out my nunchucks.
Oh.
I kind of tossed them down there for a second. So you said you want a snapshot, so we could do that for sure.
Just for there you go. There. Thank you very much, Rob. This has been a pleasure. And Ben, I can't wait to see your video with Jesse Enkamp. Any closing thoughts, or where can people find you and such? Although I imagine if they probably know already, if they're watching this show, probably they watch yours. But go ahead. Where can people find you?
You can see all my stuff on Instagram, is where we do a lot of our repost kind of things, where you can see like fake martial artists doing fake martial arts things. If you go over to our YouTube channel, that's where we do all of our original content. Every Monday, I do a McDojo breakdown, where I actually explain the thought processes behind who these people are and what art they're teaching and where they teach it. And all the information is on there. And then every Tuesday, we do Technique Tuesdays, where I have different famous martial artists and coaches and senseis, I guess you could say, come in. Like this last month, we just had Dwayne Ludwig teach different striking and stuff like that. Before that, we had Miriam Nakamoto teach Muay Thai. Coming up, we'll probably have Dave Leduc teach some Lethaway stuff. And so we're just trying to get different famous martial artists. Yeah, he's a great guy. And then on Wednesdays, I typically do like a news story. So I'll find a weird news story. They're not all up to date. I've been trying to get better at that. But if I hear a weird news story about martial arts, I will definitely say it. Whether it's old or new, it doesn't matter. I just like people hearing these stories. Then on Thursdays, I sometimes do a nunchuck video. Right now, I just haven't really been doing it. I haven't had time. But I just do it for fun. If anybody wants to learn them, you can go on the page to learn them. And then people ask me, just to add to that, they ask me a lot, well, why don't you teach boxing? Or why don't you teach jiu-jitsu? Or why don't you teach any of the other stuff that you do? And the thing is that I could do those things, but that's why I have a Technique Tuesday, is because I bring in the people who I know for a fact are better than me at that, and I have the people who are the best teach it. I'm not the best at any of those things. I'm not the best at jiu-jitsu. I'm not a high-level competitor, right? I love jiu-jitsu, but I'm mediocre at it. I'm not the best kickboxer. I'm not the best boxer. I enjoy those things, but I'd much rather bring in somebody who's good at those things. One thing that I am exceptionally good at is nunchucks. And so without it's just the skill that I have. As stupid and as silly as that skill is, I still have that skill. And so if people want to learn it, some people do, I teach it. And then on Fridays is our McDojo show. We have different martial arts guests come on, and we just shoot the crap with them. I have a team that does that. It's my day off. So I let them do all that. And then and you can find us on all the social medias, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff.
And before you go, also the documentary you're doing.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a documentary. We were scheduled originally to start filming in April. COVID hit, and then basically shut down every martial arts gym in the United States. Gyms around the country are slowly starting to open back up. We're definitely worried at this point that maybe there'll be a second wave of shutdowns. I hope not. But you got to do what you got to do. It's not my choice. It's the government at this point. So I just have to do what I'm told. But right now we have film dates set for August. So we originally had them in April. We had to push them back. We decided to push for August because we figured everything would be kind of open. As of right now, they are. There are stipulations in different countries, or in different states, sorry. But those stipulations, as of right now, will still allow us to do our film. It'll just be difficult. But yeah, and so you can keep up to date with that kind of stuff. If you want to learn more about our documentary and get updates and behind the scenes footage and all that stuff, you can go to McDojo Life, DOC. That's McDojo Life Doc on Instagram. It is not a free page to get onto. That was actually made as a perk. So people who donated, it was made originally just as a perk for people who have donated. So if you don't donate, you won't get behind the scenes footage. Sorry, that's what other people paid for, right? Yeah. But if you decide that you want to donate a little something, then you get access to original content.
Rob, thank you very much.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, dude.
It was lots of fun. Thanks.
Yeah, man.